In my videos exposing my German masquerader landlord Bob Orosz, a violent, sadistic murderer, I described certain lessons all of humanity can learn about the true God by how He has protected me from thousands of attempts on my life over the past 62 years. It proves that I follow the true God and worship Him in the way He has prescribed that He should be worshipped. That way was not discovered by me but was restored by God to His church through Mr. Herbert W. Armstrong. In this video, I explain what Mr. Armstrong's commission was from God and what my commission is from the pages of the Bible. Hello friends, this is Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini, where I provide unique analysis of world events based on the unmasked truth that after surrender, Germany continued World War II clandestinely and became a killing machine. I also provide true news that you will find nowhere else. In my videos beginning November 16, 2023 to November 30, 2023 concerning my landlord Bob Orosz, which described my experiences with him for the past 14 years and my experiences with German masquerader and the Indian allies since the age of 10, I mentioned that God has protected me from the thousands of attempts made on my life. In doing so, God is trying to teach humanity certain extremely important lessons in our time. The most important lesson to be learned is that the God of the Bible I worship is the only true God and is almighty in power, as He says in Isaiah 43 verse 10. You are my witnesses, says the Lord, and my servant whom I have chosen, that you may know and believe me and understand that I am He. Before me there was no God formed, neither shall there be after me. The second lesson for humanity to learn is that God has also pointed the way of truth by protecting me. God simply would not have protected me if I did not follow His way of life, and the way I follow is the way God restored to His church through His end-time apostle, Mr. Herbert W. Armstrong. It is not a way I figured out. I follow exactly what Mr. Armstrong taught. God sent him in the spirit and power of Elijah the prophet to restore all things as stated by Jesus Christ in Matthew 17 verses 10 to 11. And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elijah must first come? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elijah truly shall first come and restore all things. Satan has worked very hard to destroy what God restored through Mr. Armstrong. Most of the Church of God organizations have been taken over by Satan's agents. The only organization that I recommend contacting and joining is the Common Faith Network at commonfaithnetwork.org. I have written the essential truths about our beliefs in ebook form and made them freely available on my religion website www.churchofgodmessage.com. I also describe what a person must do to receive God's help to survive the coming catastrophes. If you would like to learn more and contact a church pastor, the only ones I can recommend at present are those of the Common Faith Network. The third essential lesson to be learned is that no human can blame God for not warning them of the coming catastrophes. God's angels make my weekly warning messages delivered every Saturday 9 a.m. USA Eastern Standard Time, available to every human being on earth in his or her own language. Whoever wants to hear them can tune his ear to hear them and will hear them. The fact that angels make my weekly messages available to every human being on earth is the strongest evidence that I am doing His most important work on earth of warning the world of the soon coming global catastrophes and showing the way how we can receive His help in escaping them alive. I do this work in fulfillment of God's commission in Revelation 10 verse 11. And He said to me, You must prophesy again about many peoples, nations, tongues, meaning in many languages, and kings. That is another very important reason why God is protecting me. Thus, God has used every possible means to warn the world about the coming global catastrophes, that He is the only God and there is no other. God has provided evidence of that by demonstrating his ability to protect someone, perhaps an unprecedented number of times in the history of mankind. One has to be spiritually blind to not acknowledge that the God I worship is the Almighty, and that my beliefs and the ways I worship Him are the ways He wants us to worship Him, which He restored to His true church through Mr. Armstrong. Plenty of what Mr. Armstrong has written is available on the internet so that anyone with a little bit of research can verify that I myself follow and advise everyone else also to follow the way God restored through Mr. Armstrong. The only area I have built upon what God restored through Mr. Armstrong is the understanding of Bible prophecy that Mr. Armstrong had. That is the nature of prophecy. God reveals understanding of prophecy in increments. Since my commission, as stated in Revelation 10:11, is to preach about prophecy, I believe God has given me more understanding of prophecy than what we understood in the past. But prophecy does not change the way of God that we should follow. I am very hopeful that tens of millions of people in the world will ultimately pay heed to my messages. That is prophesied in Revelation 7 verses 9 to 17. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues, meaning languages, stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed with white robes and palms in their hands, and cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our God which sits upon the throne and unto the Lamb. And one of the elders answered, saying unto me, Who are these which are arrayed in white robes, and from where did they come? And I said unto him, Sir, you know. And he said to me, These are they which came out of the great tribulation, and I washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb, meaning repented by acknowledging who the true God is and obeying Him during the first 2.5 years of the great tribulation. Then continuing, Therefore are they before the throne of God, and serve Him day and night in His temple, and He that sits on the throne shall dwell among them. They shall hunger no more, neither thirst any more, neither shall the sun light on them, nor any heat. For the Lamb which is in the midst of the throne shall feed them, and shall lead them unto living fountains of waters, and God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. It's extremely important to understand why I state that the right way to follow God based on the Bible is the way that was restored through Mr. Armstrong. The reason is the commission God gave to Mr. Armstrong, and also the commission God has given me in doing His work. When God uses a person to do His work, He makes the person understand what His commission is. Mr. Armstrong clearly understood what his commission was and talked about it many times. His commission was prophesied in the Old and New Testament. God's commission to His end-time church is described in Matthew 24, verse 14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. In the end times, Mr. Armstrong is the first man to understand and preach that the gospel, or the good news to be preached to the world, is about the soon coming kingdom of God. Since his death on January 16, 1986, God's church, including me, has continued to preach the same gospel. Mr. Armstrong also understood that his commission was prophesied in Malachi 4, verses 5 to 6, which states, Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the heart of the children to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse or utter destruction. In the New Testament, Jesus prophesied about Mr. Armstrong's commission in Matthew 17, verses 10 to 11, which state, And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elijah must first come? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elijah truly shall first come, and restore all things. Therefore, Mr. Armstrong's main responsibility was to restore the truth about God and His way that human beings should follow. just as the ancient Elijah restored the worship of the true God to ancient Israel. We do not need to change anything about the way we should conduct our lives. That is why God's true church, including me, follow that way and preaches that the world should do it too to receive God's help in escaping soon coming global catastrophic events alive. That's why I do not preach any different way except the one that was other than the one that was restored through Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong did not understand his commission when he started preaching, but after decades of preaching, he slowly came to clearly understand it. And since he was a prophet, God gave him more understanding of prophecy than any human being on earth than Jesus Christ. The responsibility God has charged me with was prophesied by God in Deuteronomy 18 verses 18 to 19, which state, I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto you, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. And it shall come to pass that whosoever will not hearken unto my words, which he shall speak in my name, I will require it of him. To prove that I am fulfilling this commission and that Mr. Armstrong fulfilled the commission as an end-time Elijah, I have written an e-book titled A Prophet Like Moses, which is available free on my religion website. I too did not understand my commission for many years, but understood it only after 4 to 5 years ago when I realized that Moses was the first judge of Israel. He made judgments about how various nations were to be dealt with, no doubt based on his experiences in dealing with various nations as a general in Egypt and later as a shepherd for 40 years for his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian, as he dealt with the surrounding people and how God guided him. I started making judgments about various people and nations when the existence of German masqueraders and the atrocities they had committed was fully discovered in 2000 to 2001 based on what I and Americans had suffered at their hands. I had no idea that this was my commission, but only 4 to 5 years ago I realized that my primary commission is to make judgments about nations and people as a judge, just as Moses did. Since I have been given the title of a prophet, God has given me incremental understanding of prophecy so that I fulfill the other part of the commission given to God's church in the end of the end time, as stated in Revelation 10 verse 11, which states, And he said to me, You must prophesy again about many peoples, nations, tongues or languages and kings. Now, many prophecies have been fulfilled by one man, is strong proof of his commission. How did God make absolutely certain that we would never mistake who the Messiah or Christ was? The strongest proof God could give was that the Messiah to come would fulfill hundreds of prophecies. A man could fulfill one prophecy by chance. The chance of the same man fulfilling two prophecies dramatically decreases. The chance of the same man fulfilling 4, 6, or 10 prophecies decreases exponentially. The Apostle Peter confirmed in Acts 3 verse 18, But those things which God foretold by the mouth of all his prophets that the Christ would suffer, he has thus fulfilled. The United Church of God booklet Jesus Christ the Real Story, available free at www.ucg.org, states on page 16, To claim that your God is one thing, but to convince people that you are indeed what you say you are is quite another. So why did Jesus' closest followers come to be so convinced that they would lay down their lives for that belief? Many Old Testament prophecies of the Messiah were fulfilled in precise detail by Jesus of Nazareth. Neither the Jews nor the disciples of Jesus understood at the time that Jesus was fulfilling the messianic prophecies of the Old Testament, even though at times he told them this was the case, as in Luke 18:31 and Matthew 26 verse 56. After Jesus was resurrected, he began to help his disciples understand the scriptures and the disciples were inspired to declare that Jesus was indeed the Messiah. The proof they offered was the very scriptures or prophecies they had not previously understood. Then on page 18 the book writes, the New Testament writers cite messianic prophecies from the Old Testament more than 130 times. By some estimates, the Old Testament contains 300 prophetic passages that describe who the Messiah is and what he will do. Of these, 16 are major prophecies. What are the chances of these prophecies being fulfilled by one person? The mathematical odds that all these prophecies could have converged by chance in the events of the life of Jesus are staggeringly minute, to the point of eliminating any such possibility. Astronomer and mathematician Peter Stoner, in his book Science Speaks, offers a mathematical analysis showing that it is impossible that the precise statements about the one to come could be fulfilled in a single person by mere coincidence. The chance of only 8 of these dozens of prophecies being fulfilled in the life of one man has been estimated at 1 in 10 to the 17th power. That would be one chance in 1 and 17 zeros, 1 followed by 17 zeros. How can we put this in terms we can comprehend? Dr. Stoner illustrates the odds with this scenario. Take 10 raised to the power of 17 silver dollars and lay them on the face of Texas, with its approximate land area of 262,000 square miles. They will cover all of the state 2 feet deep. Now mark one of these silver dollars and stir the whole mass thoroughly all over the state. Blindfold a man and tell him that he can travel as far as he wishes, but he must pick up one silver dollar and say that this is the right one that was marked. What chance would he have of getting the right one? Just the same chance that the prophets could have had of writing these 8 prophecies and having them all come true in any one man. But that is only 8 of the dozens of prophecies of the Messiah. Using the science of probability, the chance of as many as 48 of these prophecies coming to pass in one person is 1 in 10 raised to the 157th power. That is 1 followed by 157 zeros. This is on page 1963, pages 100 to 109. So 1 or 2 fulfillments in Jesus' life could be dismissed as coincidental. But when the instances of fulfilled prophecies are counted up, the law of probability quickly reaches the point where mere probability becomes certainty. That is one of the proofs Jesus was the Messiah, promised Messiah. The messianic prophecies were accurately and precisely fulfilled in him. Through fulfillment of prophecies, God has left no doubt that Mr. Armstrong fulfilled the office of a prophet like Elijah. Here is a list of the prophecies fulfilled by Mr. Armstrong. 1. He filled the role of Elijah as prophesied in Malachi 4 verses 5 to 6. Malachi also wrote in chapter 3 verses 1 to 2, Behold, I will send my messenger, and he shall prepare the way before me. Mr. Armstrong prepared the way for the return of Jesus Christ to earth. Thirdly, Jesus prophesied in Matthew 17 verse 11, Truly Elijah shall first come and restore all things. Only Mr. Armstrong restored doctrines and all truths to God's church. Number 4, Mr. Armstrong preached the gospel as a witness unto all nations and fulfillment of Matthew 24 verse 14, which states, And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. Number 5, Mr. Strong fulfilled the prophecy that one man would start and end an era of God's church, as stated in Zechariah 4 verse 9, which states, The hands of Zerubbabel have laid the foundation of this house, his hands shall also finish it. The house mentioned in this prophecy is an era of God's true church. The modern era, which we identify as the Philadelphian era, began with the preaching of Mr. Armstrong around the fall of 1928 and ended with his death on January 16, 1986. Then began the Laodicean era of God's church. Number 6. Hamas's death fulfilled a major prophecy in 2 Thessalonians 2:7-8. For the mystery of lawlessness for iniquity is already at work. Only he who now restrains will do so until he is taken out of the way, and then the lawlessness one will be revealed. The mystery of iniquity is the synagogue of Satan, that is, tares implanted by Satan in God's church, as stated in Revelation 3 verse 9, which was hidden as long as Mr. Armstrong was alive. But when he was taken out of the way by death, the lawless one, Joseph W. Senior, who succeeded him, was revealed when he, in association with his son and others, changed all the doctrines and truths God had restored through Mr. Armstrong. Mr. Armstrong's ancestry as descendant of King David fulfills prophecy of a lawgiver being a descendant of Judah, as in Genesis 49 verse 10, which states, "The ruler's staff shall not depart from Judah, nor a lawgiver from between his feet until Shiloh or Jesus Christ come." The scepter promise is being fulfilled by British royalty, whereas the lawgiver promise is now being fulfilled in God's church. Number 8. Mr. Armstrong had the testimony of Jesus that he was given understanding of prophecy more than any other human being except Jesus, fulfilling Revelation 19 verse 10, for the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. Number 9. Attempts were made on the life of Mr. Armstrong. He fulfilled the prophecy in Mark 16:17-18 in many ways, which states, "And these signs shall follow them that believe. In my name shall they cast out devils, they shall speak with new things. They shall take up serpents, and if they drink any deadly thing, it shall not hurt them. They shall lay hands on the sick, and they shall recover." The probability of the same person fulfilling these 9 prophecies by mere chance is so low that we should not have any doubt that the man who fulfills them must be the end-time Elijah, God sent to preach the gospel of the kingdom of God to him. Now consider the various signs and prophecies fulfilled by my work as described in my ebook, A Prophet Like Moses. 1. Prophecy in Deuteronomy 18 verse 15 and verses 18-19 about God sending a prophet like Moses has been fulfilled. Moses was the first judge in Israel. God has delivered 2 messages to me through angels that have to do with judgments. Judgment on the Banias and the principle concerning settling various people to not change the lands anciently allotted to them. Second, God delivering messages to me through angels fulfills verse 18, which states, "I will raise up for them a prophet like you from among their brethren, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak to them all that I command him." Number 3. God revealing my ancestry to the late Queen Elizabeth II as a descendant of King David fulfills prophecy concerning a lawgiver in Genesis 49 verse 10. Number 4. Prophecy in Micah 2 verse 12-13, which state, "I will surely assemble, O Jacob, all of you. I will surely gather the remnant of you. The breaker is come up before them. They have broken up and have passed through the gate and are gone by it. And their king shall pass before them, and the Lord in the head of them." This is about someone with the status of a king. That refers to my office. Some people have actually seen me crowned like a king and have shared that vision. Number 5. God revealing the sequence of events concerning Revelation 8 verses 7-12 through an angel, which I describe in my ebook, God's Messages Delivered Through Angels. It fulfills Revelation 19 verse 10, which states, "For the testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy." Number 6. Moses' life was miraculously preserved as a baby. My life has been miraculously preserved perhaps more times than the life of any other human being. It fulfills the prophecy in Mark 16:17 to 18, as was fulfilled in the life of Mr. Armstrong. Number 7. God made Moses' face to shine. God has also made my face shine more than a dozen times, a couple of times before hundreds of people. Number 8. God uses Moses to rescue ancient Israel from slavery and then help build the nation by giving various laws. God has used me to rescue modern Israel, that's America and British Commonwealth nations, from economic slavery and stop murders of millions, including abortions annually, by exposing the existence of the hostile nation within the nation. Then God has used me to restore the way of economic growth for our nations, using my model of economic development and reveal principles of healing and good health. Revelation 10 verses 8 to 10 concerning one eating a little book was fulfilled by me. Number 10. Revelation 10:11 about one told to prophesy again is being fulfilled by me, by God deputing angels to make my weekly messages available to every human being on earth in his or her own language every Saturday at 9 a.m. USA Eastern Standard Time. Matthew 24:14 about preaching the gospel of the kingdom of God to all nations was fulfilled by Mr. Armstrong. The prophecy to reach every nation, indeed every human being on earth, in his or her own language is continuing to be fulfilled by my work. Again, the probability of the same man fulfilling these 11 prophecies by mere chance is so low that we can conclude with certainty that the prophet who fulfills them must be a prophet like Moses. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos on important world events, World War III watch, politics, international business, how Bible prophecy is playing an important role in world affairs, advice on health and medical problems, and much more for in-depth and insightful analysis. Please also subscribe to my YouTube and Facebook channels Unmasked Truth with Harmanjit Saini to view and get information on the latest videos.